Welcome, heathens and witches, to the Horn
and Cauldron
podcast. I'm John Norgrove. This is Julie Norgrove. This is a Horn and Cauldron podcast. Your whenever it comes out witchy podcast.
That's right.
Shut up about time. It's not real anyway. So,
time is a construct.
Yeah, it's just make believe. Don't believe unless it's the one that we say. Do that.
Or don't stop believing because
like it's
if you're
the one
late,
that Journey said.
Yeah, because if you're late, then you'll get fired. But not to this podcast. We're not going to fire you if you're late.
I don't know what she's talking about. Anywho, welcome back. It's been a little bit. And we are a little behind on this one. But also this blot happened to come out of fucking honestly absolutely nowhere, man. This last month and a half have been wildly more busy than any of the previous month and a half, which were already
It's been longer
too
than
busy.
a month and a half.
No. I mean, that's fair. But I mean, just this most recent one.
Yeah.
Has been like extra busy. Anyway, this is Midsummer. Midsummer?
Midsummer.
It's Midsummer. It barely feels like we're out of spring here.
Yeah.
So, fucking yay for whatever that means. But
it means it hasn't been as hot here, which is nice.
Yeah, it's not about the heat. It's more about the shifting seasons and the expeditiousness with which the seasons are shifting because the Gregorian calendar is bullshit and we are doing a number on the planet. Good job, humans. You guys are fucking killing it. Literally. Stop, please. But whatever. Yeah, so anyway, Midsummer was like a week ago for us.
Yeah.
While we're recording this, that shit just like kind of appeared. Out of nowhere. For some reason in my mind, I always think of Midsummer as after the 4th of July.
No, it's always before.
No, I have no doubt that it is. I just don't know.
It's always before.
It's in the middle of summer, which is like July 20th.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Put your votes out there. We're going to officially change when Midsummer happens.
Midsummer is associated specifically with the solstice. So it's not like a because we feel like it kind of time.
Everything's
It's like literally tied to an astronomical event of the longest day of the year.
Okay, so we just take some superconductive material and wrap it around the planet, and then we use that to steal a little bit of the eddy currents that come from our rotational inertia due to the magnetosphere. 1, free power. 2, slow the rotation of the Earth. We can push Midsummer into July. I'm just saying, guys, the technology's not there. Also, if you get that book reference, you're a real one. You will not, though, for what it's worth. But it might fix the runaway greenhouse effect. Ask Mercury. Yeah, so Midsummer came and went. But for Midsummer, because these are the 105s or whatever,
yes.
So we're doing movies. We're doing magic and media on these. For Midsummer, we decided to pretty on the nosely
watch Midsummer.
Midsummer. We watched The Wicker Man. You know, funnily enough, speaking of Midsummer and The Wicker Man, I was telling my boy at work that we had watched Midsummer. And he was like, did you watch Wicker Man immediately afterwards? And I was
we
like,
almost
we
did. We almost did.
And he's like, they're basically the same movie, right? And I was just like, kinda.
Yeah,
right. A dude in a bear costume. You got like a fire. You got like some rituals and shit. You got like some people that are not connected to like the rest of the community and shit. And I was just like, damn, dog. They are kind of connected. And we almost did watch it, but we didn't.
Almost did.
Because we're saving that one for later.
Yeah.
But anywho, so we watched Midsommar.
Because there are 3 summer festivals. Well, technically there's
three of everything.
And then three harvest festivals. But like 3 of them happen in the summer for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes. There's 3 of everything. Yeah,
sure.
3 times 4 is 12, so. Aren't there 12 blots?
No.
How many blots are there?
8.
8?
Yeah.
There's 2 for each.
No. Because there's 3 spring, and then there's 3 fall, and then there's 1 winter and
midwinter
1 summer.
And midsummer?
Yeah.
That seems a bit judgy. I think we should move more to the fall and the winter. Those are the better ones anyway.
We already have 3 in the fall. Do not move more to the fall.
More to the fall. 5 in the fall. 5 fall.
Is that the name of the band?
It could be. Five Fall would be a great name for a band, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so whatever. Like, if you haven't seen, what is this? Midsommar. It's starring Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Right. It came out in the early 2020s.
Yeah, maybe like 2019.
Maybe 2019 or whatever. My phone is currently recording it, so I can't look anything up. Everything's coming out of my head. It's a guess. Hey, you can come up here, dude. Let's go. Come on, come in. There you go. Yeah. So, if you haven't seen it, I guess bloody spoilers, but like, we're just gonna talk about this movie real quick. So, Midsommar is conceptually takes place at the Midsummer Festival.
Yes.
Even though it's kind of Beltane coded.
It's very Beltane coded, but it does take place during the longest day.
During the longest day of the year.
So during Midsummer, which is why we chose it for Midsummer.
Which is why we call it. And it's also why it's named that, obviously.
Yeah.
Making a Beltane movie called Midsummer would be heinous.
Well, it's a little bit like making a Midsummer Night's Dream, but it's more Beltane coded anyway.
That's true. They kind of, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
You know, Toss, why don't you go over there? Why don't you figure out over there? There you go.
I love how he waits every time for us to start recording, and then is like, "Hi, hello.
Yeah.
I need to find a place.
Pardon me, I'm going to be in the way for a little bit.
In front of this camera so that people can see me. Except for those of you that are listening to this who can't see him and can only hear us talking about him.
Wow, I know. So, anywho, yeah. You know what? Midsommar is, for what it's worth, a pretty good example of like
toxic relationships.
It is an example of toxic relationships. I guess it's not really necessarily. I mean, it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah,
but it's sort of about like resolving toxic relationships.
Sure, you could say that. Yeah.
I mean, it's over. There's no more toxic relationship.
It does get resolved.
The problem is resolved.
Yeah.
So there you go. Fix your fucking problems by setting your boyfriends on fire.
We were watching this, and I was like, "Wow, this whole movie really reads like an Am I the asshole?"
For sure.
Post like, "Dear Reddit, my sister just committed suicide and killed my whole family, and I was really sad about it. And my boyfriend decided to go on a trip to Sweden without me. And then when I found out, I was upset." And then he invited me to go with him and his friends to a commune. And I found out that he cheated on me. And then I put him in a bear costume and sacrificed him to their god. Am I the asshole?
Yeah. The answer is no. No, you're not. He
she's not.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah.
They all are.
You go, queen.
Yeah. The least monster one is the black guy. What is his name?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
I don't remember any of their names.
That's so fair, dude. It's just, and we recently watched this.
We just watched this like yesterday.
Yeah, like yesterday. I lost all their
2
names.
days ago.
So anyway, so we've basically got this friend group. They're friends with this like Swedish guy, Norwegian guy.
Yeah, he's kind of like you know what? They're in college, so this doesn't really count. But it's kind of like he's an exchange student.
Yeah, I mean he's just studying abroad.
Yeah.
Kind of. But he's also kind of out on like Rumspringa energy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then he like invites them back to his like family commune place, which also, what's up? Give me that invite. I would be down.
Yeah.
I can farm. And then obviously all of the like Midsommar antics are undertaken.
Yeah.
Right? For me, the like main, I mean, like the flowers thing isn't the real reason why I feel it's Beltane coded. It's mostly the like ritual for a good harvest. Like, girl, it's Midsummer.
And the maypole dance.
Girl, it's Midsummer. Why you doing offerings for a good harvest in the middle of summer? It's in the name, bro.
They would normally be.
It's too late. You should be doing that shit in early spring.
Especially.
I mean, unless they also do this in early spring, but like it's a different kind of offering. Maybe. And this is just like a boost.
Well, it's like an easy day to get everybody back because it's like the longest day of the year, right?
Yeah.
So this could be like not entirely the beginning of the harvest, but like sort of. You know, it's like because it's an easy day to get everybody together.
I'm okay with the maypole, even though like maypoles are only for May.
Except that they're not.
Well, except that they're not.
Yeah.
One. And two, more than the fact that, like, maybe ritualistically or fucking whatever, they, like, are or aren't, it's just, like, a fun game. Yeah. That's like saying tetherball's only for the playground.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. That statement, I mean, you could have a tetherball anywhere. We should have tetherball, by the way. Love tetherball. Tetherball, you know what that is? It's maypole, baby. How you playing that? That's soccer maypole.
That is soccer maypole. Sporty maypole.
Yeah, which I would fuck with. But yeah, like I'm okay with the maypole thing and like whatever, you know, and like the flowers, like it's after Midsummer right now. I can go pick like 80 flowers off my blooming maple right now.
Yeah.
My orange is going fire. The red is going pretty fire, and the yellow is like just starting to. No, the yellow's doing really good, and the red's just starting to come in.
Yeah,
because I have all three. Like
and our citronella just
like
was flowering too. So
yeah,
there are flowers.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
and the sorrel is flowering.
And the sorrel's flowering, and your violet, is that what
African
that's in
violet?
African violet in there is flowering as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like you can for sure have flowers midsummer, like that's totally reasonable. But it's just like the offering around the like crops.
Yeah.
Feels weird, and also like. The crops don't feel like knee-high. You know that saying knee-high by the 4th of July?
Yeah,
it's like a corn measurement thing.
One of the things about like some of the like ritual
but also they're from like a
it.
northern-ass, Klein-ass place. So I assume all of their growth is retarded forwards in time.
Maybe.
Right? Just because of the nature of that climb, for it to have those such long days, it must have incredibly long, like dark winter and cold winters.
Well, yeah, because they're in a space where it's sunlight the whole time. Yeah, right.
Well, the boyfriend said that it got dark for a couple hours.
Yeah, so
maybe it's not like fully a 24-day.
Yeah,
but so like this could push their growth pattern out a little bit. But I don't know about that much.
I don't know. It does feel like they are taking some of the other things about like pagan fertility rituals and sort of lumping them all into like Midsummer, which I think works in the context of the movie.
Yeah.
Like
it's sort of like they took ritual from like maybe as far back as like Ostara through Midsummer and just sort of like flumped it all together in like a single thing.
Yeah.
Is sort of more what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
You know? So, on the rituals, let's, like, go through these and see, like, what does and doesn't equal actual Midsummer rituals. Cliff diving grandpappies? Nah.
Not associated with
Midsummer.
Not associated with Midsummer.
Honestly, not associated with, as far as I'm aware, not associated with any specific blot. That's more of a specific, like, individual thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, they're not associated with a specific, like, Sabbat, but would generally be sort of their own thing and sort of, like, done whenever they want.
Yeah.
Although, if I were to guess, I would imagine that this would probably happen... Gosh, this would be really hard. Because I was thinking, like, oh, this would probably happen in the fall. But, like, if this happens in the fall, they have to, like, go and, like, bury the bodies. And the bodies would basically be frozen over in the wintertime and wouldn't decompose immediately. So, like, maybe in the spring would make sense for something like that.
No, because that's a mouth to feed over winter.
Oh, that's true. That is a mouth.
So late summer or
fall thing
would make more sense. I don't know about Midsummer, but like maybe, right?
Yeah.
So
well, normally the only thing that I know of that this ritual is like related to is like an Odin, is sort of like a celebration of Odin, and Odin's festival happens typically in April. Odin's Day.
Yeah.
So that would be like an early spring. That would be like a spring kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that. It would make more sense in my mind for it to happen in fall, but But
again, I don't know that it's actually tied to that festival and
and for what it's worth, I feel like it's significantly more of a
because then it's one
case by case basis
to help with the harvest.
Yeah, I mean, late fall would make the most amount of sense from like a purely mechanical standpoint.
Yeah,
late fall, right? So you still have a helping hand through harvest and shit. Yeah, like Samhain.
Yeah, like the end of fall
would make the most amount of sense. But again, I think it's more of a case by case basis, And there wasn't like a specific thing for it?
Yeah.
Okay, the maypole, obviously, like, best known for May.
Yeah, best known
It's
for
in the pole.
Beltane. But maypole stuff happens as early as Ostara and as late as
I feel like
Lunasa.
it happens all year round.
Not all year, but like all spring and summer.
Yeah.
Like we see maypole stuff happen and also like we've
seen like and this may be a more modern thing, right? So like take into account that like we're addressing like both ancient practice and modern practice. Like we've seen like Samhain maypoles.
Yeah, that's
as like a more modern thing.
Yeah, that's definitely a more modern thing.
Right.
Just because it's like fun to do.
And I would argue that like anytime you see a bunch of elves dancing around a tree in a Christmas movie is clearly symbolic of maypole ritual.
It is very symbolic of maypole.
You see what I'm saying?
Good call. Good catch.
Yeah. So I would argue that the like root concept of decorated stick that you dance around,
yeah,
is sort of all seasons. It's just that like the fucking TLDR of the stick, whether it's like the like classic triangle with two circles.
Does that mean that stripper poles count
as a maypole?
Yeah,
I'll allow it. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Who's what is there like a goddess associated with maypoles or a god?
No,
like Aoster maybe or some shit.
Okay, kind of. So we think that
the god of May.
We don't know, but we think that the idea behind maypoles has to do with animism and associating natural.
Barely able to read that. Jesus.
like basically like deifying like natural things. You know, like we did that episode where we talked about Pontus and animism and basically like. The mountain is a god, and the sea is a god, and the sky is a god, right? Or and I mean by god, I mean like a gender neutral kind of situation.
Yeah.
And like God? so then like a tree would also be considered a deity, right? Mm-hmm. By the idea of animism. So we think that they started to do maypoles and also like decorative trees, a la Christmas trees. Because of a root belief of like a spirit being imbued in the tree.
Sure. We did that whole bloody episode about like tree magic and shit.
Yeah. And like people used to like have sacred tree groves and stuff like that. So the idea of a maypole isn't associated with a like god that I am aware of, but is really more associated with veneration of the natural world and ascribing supernatural and spiritual importance to a particularly dope tree. And they actually talk about this in the movie when the annoying kid pees on the ancestor tree, which is like laying on the ground, right? So they talk about that being their ancestral tree. So they spread
the ashes of their deceased on the tree.
Yes.
So this
is all kind of part of the same idea of that like animism of the tree sort of thing. So no, there's not a god of maypoles, but
yeah, like
it makes sense for the setting.
For sure. Well, and you know, I mean, if we want to like shave Occam about this, I feel like you fucking heard me. I feel like if you're gonna do a party, and all blots, all Sabbats are parties, right? You want to have like some music, you want to have some dance, you want to have you know like all the stuff, right? And so I feel like, and a maypole dance is like one of those sort of endless, like ageless, endlessly useful sort of dance things. Yeah. Everybody get in a circle, spin in a circle. Yeah. Everybody love a spin in a circle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like it feels like one of those things that kind of, it's like a significantly more, honestly, I don't even know if I can say significantly more universal as a millennial, but it's basically like a significantly more universal Macarena. You know what I'm saying? It's a dance that has some specificity to it.
Yeah.
but that in the grand scheme of thing has sort of transcended the original song. I just fucking literally this morning watched a TikTok where a bunch of people were doing a Macarena to like screamo death metal. And I got like 3/4 of the way through like a 4-minute TikTok about this before I realized that the screamo death metal was in fucking German. These weren't even like American people, right? It's an international thing. You know, it's like Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
You know, some shit just sort of like transcends its initial parameters, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like a maypole, it has like transcended its initial parameters, and become like a grander thing, right? And like bloody what's his name from Wicca, like kind of
Gerald Gardner
like lensing it to a specific thing, is more of like a later addition than the fact that like, if you're gonna do a thing, some strips of cloth or some flowers or vines or whatever the shit, and like a bunch of motherfuckers running around, whether it's kids or adults, is just like great fun.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like in less than 5 minutes, you could basically bring the structural equivalent of a maypole to any culture's event, and it would work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like, oh, if you're like worshiping ancestors, put pictures of your ancestors or memories of your ancestors on the pole. We're all gonna dance around it. If you venerate some sort of specific deity, it would work. I mean, like, I feel like, again, like, you know, even in Christianity, you see, like, I'm trying to think what fucking movie has the elves dancing in a circle around the thing. Oh, the creepy ass train one.
What?
You know, creepy ass train movie, Christmas movie.
Polar
Express. Yeah, the visuals of that movie are more horrifying as every year passes. Yeah,
it's a nightmare. Do not remember.
Yeah, at the very end when they get there, I think all the elves are dancing in a circle around the bloody thing. Oh. They're also dancing in a circle around the tree or tower, wherever the bloody Star of Bethlehem is, in the one with what's his name in Goldie Hawn.
Oh, the
Kurt Russell
Santa
and Goldie
Claus
Hawn.
Chronicles.
The Santa Claus Chronicles. I think they also do a little circle dance in that one. And I know the claymation one, at least one of them got a circle dance. I think it's the Rudolph one, maybe.
Yeah.
They got the circle dance around the tree.
Nightmare Before Christmas has it.
They got a circle dance at Nightmare? Yeah, also, yeah. So it's, I think that it's more of just like, it's like less about the maypole and more about the like ritual of the circle dance.
Yeah.
You know? And the maypole is like just like maybe a little bit more dialed in because Gardner kind of focused a lens on a thing that's sort of infinitely happening.
Well, I think that
you know what I'm saying?
I think that it's partially that, but it's probably, I think that it's also that like European cultures had been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like it's everywhere. It's so far back that we can't dial it in.
And he was like, a maypole is a big piece of wood sticking out of the ground. And my wiener is also a big piece of wood. So fertility.
Same? Yeah.
Yeah, like, right? That's, yeah. So okay, so that's the maypole. We've got the May Queen competition in the pole. I feel like competition in the pole. Name of the sex tape. A competition in the pole. I think that's like obviously like anytime you do blots, you kind of have like ritual competitions, feats of strength. Like it's all that stuff. Yeah. In fact, like the fact that there's not more sport in Midsommar is kind of wild when you think about it. Because a lot of ritual has, like, sport associated with it when it's, like, a multi-day ritual like that. Yeah.
Right? And a lot of that sport's moving sticks, throwing sticks, holding the thing up. You know, whatever the hell your, like, particular culture's thing is. You know, whether it's the, like, whatever it's called in Germany, where you're holding a stein up. Or, like, you know, when you do, like in Scotland, you have, like, heavy events. You know, way for height, way for distance, Braemar Stone, Caber, all this sort of stuff. Or even just like the through line of dancing around the maypole and whoever wins is the May Queen ends in the like everybody come out to Ford Chrysler whatever the fuck's dealership, and put your hand on this car, and whoever's hand is there last wins the car. Like the old like TV channel radio like competitions, or like dance competitions. I don't know if you ever like participated in one or like seen one of those like we're gonna have a dance off and you got to keep dancing.
In no way have I ever competed in a dance competition.
Sure, yeah, okay, yeah.
I mean,
I feel like I grew up in a place that had significantly more dancing as a child, right? So I never competed in a dance competition where it's like max dancing or whatever. But, like, I also did, like, dance on TV a bunch and, like, shit like that, so.
Yeah, no.
So, we had a lot of dancing. There was, like, a while. You know what? Fucking aside. Pause. Whatever the hell we're talking about. When you were a kid, was there, like, an inordinate amount of singing and dancing? Like, a Disney princess level of singing and dancing? Because, I feel sometimes gently crazy about this, but I feel like a large portion of my childhood was, like, state-sponsored singing and dancing.
I mean, we had,
and there's like structure, square dance, line dance, that sort of shit. Mm-hmm. But like we also did just like a lot of that. Like when I was in elementary school, every what do you call that? Like when all the kids get together in the gym or whatever the fuck, assembly. Like assemblies always had singing involved. Summer camp, singing. Like we always had like little singing going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I do know what you're saying, but also no. So summer camp had singing.
In very different
but
environments,
I was like a counselor. I never went to summer camp as like a kid.
But even as a counselor, you didn't have like singing?
And like Boy Scouts, like there weren't really songs.
That's crazy.
Like you had a badge for songs, but other than that, no.
The song badge?
Yeah, and like when I was a counselor at camp, there was singing. But it was also like a religious camp thing. It was like a Catholic camp, so they would sing like...
Oh, we didn't have none of that.
They would sing like religious songs.
I wasn't even thinking about church singing. Church singing is like its own and like fucking thing. We had so much church singing.
And I didn't go to church, right, as a kid, so I don't have any of that.
You didn't know none of them songs?
No, not at all. It was very awkward for me. But I was not... most of the other counselors also did not know these songs.
Oh,
so, like, the kids kind of knew them because to get into the camp, they had to go to, like, Catholic church. And then
sure yeah,
so it was like a Catholic camp.
Yeah, I went to camp through Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, so
not through the church.
Yeah, so I was a counselor for like a Catholic charities camp.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so like the counselors were like not necessarily Catholic. In fact, most of them were not. And the kids had to go to like a Catholic church to be a part of this program that allowed inner city kids to go to this camp. So like they knew the songs, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know the songs. But it was fine. It wasn't an issue. Yeah. And
you follow along the church songs.
When I was in elementary school, we had like seasonal choir. Like we had like a winter concert and like a summer concert, maybe spring and fall. But like that was it. We didn't do dancing in PE or anything like that. When I was in high school, we did square dance in PE for dancing. I don't know.
Square and line were middle school for me.
No.
Yeah,
but also the timing of this would mean that I was in high school when you were in middle school.
Yeah, I don't know that has anything to do with it. And the reason why I'm saying I don't know that has anything to do with it was because we did square dancing and line dancing. Like that recording was 40 years old when we were listening to it. Like this shit was ancient,
we didn't do any dancing when I was...
And it was like they were serious. They were like, you gotta get these dance steps right sort of shit.
For no reason at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
In no way do I know how to do a grapevine. I did not retain that information.
I'm confident that like, if you gave me like a maybe 10-minute pep talk and a little example outside of a square dance hall, in like Texas or someplace like that, wherever the hell square dancing is still a thing, right? I bet I could go in there and do some fucking square dancing right now. Right? But it's like riding a bike. Once you learn how to ride a bike once, you don't forget that shit. That's muscle memory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, we did like a bunch of singing and dancing as kids.
Not at all. Not
Yeah,
a
I don't know. It's just me. So, you know what? That's why we're taking a little aside here about singing and dancing. Did you do a bunch of singing and dancing as a kid? Or did I just grow up like a Disney princess, a thing that may or may not actually be true? You know how I feel about wild animals.
You definitely grew up at least
Because
a little bit like a Disney
I'm
princess.
like a little too... What is this? A wild animal? I'm gonna touch this animal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you're a little too on the bleeding edge for that one though.
Yeah. I'm part of the Disney princess generation. Shut up. Yeah, anyway, okay, so back on topic. Yeah, okay, so like the maypole totally makes sense, whatever. The May Queen thing, making it a competition, completely makes sense from my perspective.
And also like dressing the girls up in flowers and oftentimes having like a one person who like won, you know, like the prettiest girl or won the maypole thing. Like,
yeah, it's the county fair queen or
yeah,
like any of that shit. That shit's so ancient, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that that makes sense enough.
Yeah, of course. And there's always sport and competition like that. In fact, the only weird thing to me about the sportage, like the sportiness of it, is the fact that there weren't like men's sports. Well, there weren't like feats of strength or competitions around that, but that also elucidates like a separate thing, which is the fact that this is like very clearly a matriarchal society. Even though that old dude is doing most of the talking, right? As soon as the bigger rituals started happening, the ladies sitting at the head of the table.
Well, and this is also a very
and the ladies choose the fertility ritual, thing,
right? So this is a very fertility coded thing, and in my mind, this
and dudes are not. We're not the deciders of fertility.
Yeah,
shit. We don't got nothing to do with that. We're just like a tool in that, to use the obvious ass euphemism.
Yeah. So like. In my mind, this commune, they like probably later in the summer have another ritual, and that one's probably closer to harvest time and is more associated with like feats of strength.
Boys and feats of strength.
And feats of strength, right?
Maybe.
Like that's kind of what I expect out of it, but also maybe not, right? We don't know. There's not a sequel, and I honestly hope that there never is, because I want this to be a question that never has an answer.
I want there to be a sequel. Hold on. I want there to be a sequel. I am also incredibly aware of the fact that there is no fucking way on earth they can do a good sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just impossible. I have no faith that it can be done. However, I will still fucking watch the shit out of that movie and just be sad. I'm okay with that. Okay? You know? Yeah. Give me this fucking tribe Samhain.
Yeah, so the May Queen stuff totally makes sense.
That totally makes sense.
And
so since you brought up the fertility ritual.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. The fertility ritual stuff. I mean, that's kind of every plot.
Yes, but also
mostly spring stuff still.
Right? So
it's like mostly
it's mostly spring stuff. So most like fertility ritual stuff takes place in the spring into the summer. Because that's when all the plants and stuff and the earth is like verdant.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got like harvest.
You're sowing seeds.
Exactly, right?
Quotes.
And
implied.
part of this is because then you don't. Okay, so part of the reason for this is because of the earth and like the cycles of the seasons tied to that, right? But the other part of this is a little bit more practical, and it's that if you encourage more people to have babies, to conceive during these fertility ritual times, so think Ostara, Beltane, Midsummer, then you're not really going to have as many babies born fresh during the winter. Right? The winter is already hard enough in these, not in this movie necessarily, but in these types of societies, right? You will have less births during the winter, and a birth is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort out of a community.
Well, when it's
cold,
3?
3, so 12, right?
I mean, that's winter, bro.
That is dead of winter, right? But most of the time it's Beltane.
They would be born in the winter.
Some of them.
Right? Because if it's 3, 4, 5, then they're being born bloody 12, 1, 2.
Yeah.
So it's not about not having babies born in the winter. It's about not having babies born when we got work to fucking do.
Oh, that too, yeah.
Right? And for what it's worth, right, a baby being born in, like, let's say December, that's like, it's gonna bring a little bit of hope to the community.
Like the Jesus?
No, I wasn't thinking about that. But yeah, I guess like Jesus was born in springtime. We all know that, right? Like, duh. Duh. But no, I mean, think about it. Like in the darkest parts of winter, right? Like something like New Life reminds you that the cycle exists.
Yeah.
Right? But also like, you know, winter animals having more babies right after winter.
Yeah, right after winter.
Right?
So then the human babies would be born around the same time.
Right. Yeah. So that's sort of like the kind of timelines that you sort of want for that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Is like spring-ass babies.
Yeah, so the fertility ritual timing absolutely makes sense. The ritual itself, unfortunately, there's not a lot of
Deeply fucking
information
disturbing
about like actual fertility rituals, especially from like European side of things. So like we have some information about fertility rituals for like other cultures throughout the world, and it is not uncommon to have there be sort of like group sexual experiences, but it is generally with more than one group of people coupling.
Yeah.
Right. So there's usually more than one man. There's usually multiple men, multiple women, and it's a bit more of like an orgiastic type of thing.
Yeah.
Is usually and the way that
this
sort
was
of goes.
A lot more like focused. This is like, we're gonna choose this guy.
Yeah.
This girl is gonna be the one who's like ready or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
a bunch of memas and shit chanting around the situation is wild in its own regard.
I mean,
but like whatever, rock and roll. Do you? I'm not here.
Yeah,
to
I mean, definitely some of that is for the atmosphere of the movie, right? But like,
yeah, Jesus.
There's actually a book that does a pretty good job at talking about like pagan Beltane fertility like rituals, but like a fantasy book, right? This is all fantasy stuff. It's a series called Three Dark Crowns, and in it they have like these big Beltane like ceremonies, and it's meant to be like fertility things. So your goal as like a person during this Beltane thing is to conceive a baby.
Yeah.
Like that would be like the best luck. Yeah. Like if you are wanting to conceive a baby, that is, you want to do it during the Beltane ritual or during the Beltane festival. So this is this makes sense in the concept of the movie for sure.
It all sort of fits. I mean, the fact that it's only one gal is like the only like standout weird thing.
That is a little weird, but
I assume
population control.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even assume that that doesn't make any sense, because conceptually, two old folks were put to the cliff.
Yeah.
Right, or committed to the cliff, whatever. And then they do the sacrifice of 9.
Yeah.
Which is 5 outsiders and 4 insiders.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and then 2 more people. I mean, maybe there's more than
the
one.
outsiders don't count, but like even if you're just trying to place the two old folks.
Yeah, but also maybe there's more than one like sexual encounter fertility ritual thing happening, and we don't know about it. We don't see it, right? Yeah. There's the annoying kid who dies like first.
Yeah,
he might be a part of that.
I don't know that he would have got any of that, because of the disrespect, like bring dishonor. Because they specifically point out that the boyfriend is a piece of shit.
But there may be other ones, because it's not. They don't only have children with outsiders, right?
Well, only conceptually, and the reason why I say that is that they specifically call out the benefit of bringing outsiders.
Yeah.
And they specifically call out that they do have an insider kid, singular.
Yes.
And it's that gal who's inbred.
Yeah, but that's not
who they call that out.
But they only call out that child is a product of inbreeding, not that that's the only time insiders have children,
I understand that. I understand that. But you see functionally no example of insider familial unit separation.
That is true.
And I think that's really important, because nobody has parents. All elders are parents, and nobody has siblings. All people from the same class of kids.
Yeah.
We're going to use the word class here.
But
right,
we
are
know
of similar ages.
Yes, but we know our main guy, he has a brother who's a couple of days off from his birthday and a sister who is the same birthday. This would indicate that there are multiple
couplings,
multiple conceivings happening in one ritual.
Yeah.
Time
so
frame, right?
I believe that
and
is certainly
they say
happening.
that the redhead girl is approved for the ritual, so that
so there is some sort of
control there.
Yeah.
So
I would believe it's more happening with outsiders than not, but
Maybe.
but also there's like a throwaway line where they mention something about like, oh, it's been some number of years, and it'll be some number of years again until it happens again.
Yeah, it's like every 9 years.
So it doesn't sound like there's fucking sacrificing.
Well, because they have
outsiders every year.
Yeah, so because they have this like repetition with the number 9, they probably have 9 couplings during the 9-day festival. And we're just not seeing all of them because they're carefully done. And we're not seeing them because it has nothing to do with the plot.
They're having 9 couplings over the course of 9 years, 1 per year. And the population flexes up and down by 9. And the reason why I say that is because every time they bring a new person in, those product children, like I know that he says like, oh, this is my brother and you know, he was born the day after me. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't a year and a day.
Yeah, but we know he has a sister and she's born on the same day.
That doesn't mean it's the same year.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Time doesn't really flow right in that place.
Yeah.
Not like sci-fi time doesn't flow right. So
aside from this fertility ritual, there are a few other fertility rituals happening. There is the May Queen blessing the crops.
May Queen blessing the crops, and that's grain, meat, and oil.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, what they put in the hole.
I don't think that was oil.
I think that was.
I think that was whatever beverage it is that they're drinking, which is like herbs.
The mushroom tea?
Yeah, like a mushroom
freak out tea?
Yeah, because I think that
Maybe.
that's what that is. It could be oil though.
Okay.
But it looked to me like it was the same beverage.
Grains, meats, and oil is like
the foundation of a good dinner.
It's true. Or like grains, wines, and oil.
Yeah.
Great, like it's like grains, oils, and generally the third thing is like a little bit, depending on where you live, like spatially and temporally, are like foundationally ancient.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're so foundationally ancient that like something quite similar to that is recorded as the wages of the people who built King Solomon's temple.
Yeah.
So this is like all the way back.
Yeah, so like all of that stuff makes sense.
So
and
but if it's grains, meats,
and
and tea, same.
Yeah, you know? So like all of that stuff makes sense, and her riding in the carriage like also makes enough sense. It's pretty cute also. So we see that. We also see
the carriage feels so much like a modern edition.
Well, obviously it is. But
I mean, I know obviously it is. But I mean it.
But she would have been
structured that way.
She would have been in ye old times TM.
Well,
in a cart.
Oh, I was gonna say no. It's the when she first wins, they put her on that like platform that they lift her up on. Like it almost feels like that would have been what it was.
Yeah.
But now they have like a beautiful ass
except
cart.
that they would have gotten tired of walking her through all of the fields. So having her be on the cart would make sense because there is some historical precedent to show that like sort of the I'm just going to use May Queen as the term because I don't remember the exact term, but like in a lot of like Eastern European culture, you had the May Queen type and even like the May King, because in many cultures there was a king and a queen.
Sure.
They would sit side by side on a farm cart basically, and an ox or whatever beast of burden would take them.
Honestly, even
the fields,
even pre-wheel, it was probably on a fucking dragon.
They would hand out the grain to be planted, and in doing so, they were blessing it.
Yeah,
so like
absolutely.
So like
that tracks all the way back to before the wheel when you could do like a drag.
Yeah.
Right? And that advances all the way forwards to John Deere Because, like, literally, if you are the fucking... If you're the, like, you win the, like, farm gal, you know, the county fair queen or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
Nowadays, right? They put you on a goddamn trailer and tow you behind a tractor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
that's like,
it's
infinitely Western. It's infinitely
it's
Western.
Just a parade.
And I guarantee an equivalent thing exists Eastern.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
So that totally fucking makes sense.
And then we also have, while this is kind of part of the fertility festival ritual, I think it's also its own separate thing. So the red-haired girl makes the pie and then puts some of her pubes and presumably bodily fluids in this pie.
Yeah.
So this is a part of, but not...
we have to accept that maybe it wasn't pubes and maybe it was not, like, purposefully weird. Although I don't believe that that's the case.
It
right?
was.
But remember, how did we learn it was pubes?
Because of the
asshole guy. The dude pulled a hair. I'm not saying he didn't pull a hair. He did pull a hair. But the asshole guy says, like, ooh, what is that, pubes?
Yeah.
Right? So bad witness.
Yeah, but also we see in the beginning the panel associated with, like, making the pie that lets us know that that's what that is. And that's
because she was involved in the production thereof and their end. And also she, like, drugged the shit out of that guy. So, like, I'm not saying it's not her. It's 100% her. That's...
Yeah, because at the very beginning, there's that, like, art panel where it's, like, the girl loves the guy and she wants the guy to love her, so she makes him a pie. She puts the pube in it. She puts some pee in it. She puts some blood in it.
Then the pube pie.
Yeah, right? So
because remember, she puts the poppet under his bed.
Yeah. So that is part of a fertility ritual, but I don't necessarily know that does not indicate that it is part of the fertility ritual that happens later on. It is a separate ritual.
I think it's part of the same thing.
It's more love magic. I mean,
I think it's part of the same thing. I think it's all part of this intimately connected. I think that regardless of...
It is connected.
Motherfucker nouveau.
It is connected,
right?
But because A happens does not mean that B always happens.
Sure.
And because B happened... Because in the art panel, it shows them basically living happily ever after. And they do not, because he gets sacrificed.
Well...
And also, it has nothing to do with the fertility ritual. Like, there's no imagery for the fertility ritual with the women in the temple either.
Sure.
So this is a love magic ritual as opposed to the fertility ritual. So they were just basically woven together, but they do not have to always happen together.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't need to be same.
Yes.
Right?
In this case, it is.
Yeah, I understand.
But it doesn't have to.
I agree.
And that tracks pretty on par with almost every, like, love magic spell that I have read of this type, going all the way back as far as we have words to be able to describe this stuff. That is incredibly
fine
common.
Details of love magic being potentially evil.
Yeah,
or at least toxic, notwithstanding.
Yeah, there are other issues with love magic for sure. And we actually did a whole episode on love magic.
There are in fact other rituals with specifically the love magic in this movie. : tilde, this motherfucker getting drugged.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with love magic for sure.
Yeah.
But we did a whole episode where we talk about those. So that, I think, is it for the fertility rituals themselves. But then we have the main ritual, which involves the house or the building that was built, the yellow triangle.
The sacrifice of 9.
Yeah, the sacrifice of 9.
Because the burning of the yellow temple is just the conclusion of the sacrifice of 9.
Yes.
Right? And so the sacrifice of 9, standard Odin ritual.
Yeah.
Right? You saw that shit in Norsemen, or not Norsemen.
The one that wasn't comedy.
The one that wasn't comedy, the less good one. Damn, I forget
Vikings,
what that's. Vikings,
maybe?
yeah, Vikings.
Yeah.
It's Vikings, yeah.
Yeah.
Although Vikings Sacrifice of 9 is actually really good. If whether or not you like the show Vikings, the Sacrifice of 9 in Vikings is really good.
Yeah.
Right, Vikings is one of those, I think, for us, a hit or miss show.
Yeah,
some of it's good, some of it's not so good.
we didn't watch.
It's not as good as Norseman.
Yeah,
the comedy
one actually,
which is way better,
and hit a lot of the plot points better.
Yeah,
for like what ancient Norse society would have been like.
Yeah. Vikings is like a little too cranked towards like the combat
the specific
warrior
aesthetic of the time that show came out.
For sure.
That they were trying, it was very demographic.
Those
driven.
people, demographically motivated.
Yeah. So, so the sacrifice does pretty well. One of the things about Midsommar in general, this movie, is we notice something new every time we watch it.
Yes.
And I have not quite figured out what the symbolism for all of the things is in the ritual, but like some of the things like kind of make sense, but also a lot of this stuff is really driven to like fit the movie. The movie has a lot of symbolism that ties itself in time over time, like the picture of the girl kissing the bear in their house in the beginning, and then the bear ends up being the boyfriend and she's the little girl and the whole thing, right? So there's a lot of that symbolism in there, but this movie is so exquisitely tied together with these references that I am certain that there is a reference to each one of the particular sacrifices that happen in this. I just haven't quite figured it out yet. So perhaps we have a part 2 of this later on once we get that figured out. But all of the ritualistic themes make sense. You generally would have like human sacrifices during these types of rituals. That was very, very common across cultures throughout the world. Yeah. And it's kind of 50-50 if those sacrifices were already deceased or if the sacrifice itself was the thing that caused them to perish.
Yeah. Well, and they don't really talk. So, like, Midsommar does not address this, but the Vikings episode kind of addresses this. When you do your sacrifice of 9, you're like, obviously, your like peak sacrifice is the human sacrifice part, but you would also sacrifice like 9 chickens, and that's the feast, or 9 goats, and that's a bigger feast the next day, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And generally, a ritual is 9 days. So there's a lot of numerology at play that they don't really super duper address in this.
Yeah.
Right. So, but on the human sacrifice of 9 sort of thing, right? It's I think it's like a kind of like a straight line thing. If you notice it, like it's not at all like disrespect. It's like a high honor.
Yeah, the people that are the two men that live in the
community,
they volunteered. This is a high honor for them.
Yeah.
So this is that tracks.
Well,
right?
And when the May Queen gets to decide the 9th and final sacrifice, right? She has to choose between her boyfriend, old paralyzed Jones, and
a random person,
some guy.
Yeah.
He always feels like a salesman, like a trader.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's just like a vibe that I get from him. It's something about the energy of the actor, I think.
Yeah, it's probably that.
Right?
Yeah.
But whatever, it's good. But there's not, from my perspective, and we've seen this movie an inordinate number of times, there's never a hint that he's against it. Yeah. It's never like, don't choose me. He's like, oh yeah, it's my turn. Like, maybe I get chosen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
There's not dread associated with it.
For sure.
In fact, if this movie were to have like an entirely different like score of music, it would largely not be a horror movie. Don't get it twisted. There are a lot of horror movie things that happen in this.
Horror adjacent things. For sure.
But like
honestly, it's not even a score based thing. I feel like in a different cultural setting.
Yeah.
This movie would have an entirely different analysis.
It would be more of like a drama. And actually, that's how we watch it, is more of like a relationship-y drama.
Yeah. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, because they brought in the English couple, and then including the guy who's sewed into the bear, the 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
But the asshole kid, he's not one of the sacrifices.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he's the clown one.
Yeah.
He's the jester. Is the black guy in the sacrifices? We don't see him in the building, huh?
No, he's not.
Or do
I
we
don't think. His leg is in the garden.
His leg is in the garden. Do we see the kid who gets blood eagled?
Yeah, he's in there.
Is he in there?
I think so.
And his girl's in there.
I think so.
Okay. Because if we don't see the kid with the leg, then that's 4. That actually makes more sense. If we don't see the black guy.
I think that they weren't planning on sacrificing him.
The black guy isn't sacrificed though.
Yeah.
Remember, he goes in to take pictures of the book.
Because they were fine until he stole the book.
Well, try to take pictures of it, which is breaking the code.
Yeah.
And then the inbred girl gives him the old stop hammer time.
Yeah.
Right? She gives him the old MC Hammer.
Yeah.
Right? And then they're like, I'll bury this guy in the flowers. Or whatever.
Or something.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, the sacrifice all sort of fits. It's like a little hyper dramatic.
Yeah.
But it all sort of fits a bunch of like known ritual symbolism.
Yeah.
And the 9th person being chosen and then stitched into a bear, I feel like is very much so a sort of like seat of it, even though like the boyfriend is a piece of shit. Holy fuck that guy. Right? It's kind of like a high honor.
Yeah.
And I feel like choosing the 9th high honor to be the guy sewn into a bear is very much so like we have bears in this place and we honor the bear and we don't call it its real last name.
Yeah.
Such that it doesn't get like booty bizzled, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the sacrifice ritual totally makes sense. I'm trying to think if there's like any other ritual that we see.
Not really.
Right?
Yeah, all the like food stuff, that's less of like a magical kind of ritual and more of like a practical, like this is how this family does it. I did notice that the tables were in the shape of a rune.
Yeah.
And we do see runes.
Urus, right? It's a U-shaped.
No, it's a diamond with a V. The diamond with an upside down V.
At the bottom of it.
Yeah. I drew that in the air for you.
Oh, sure.
Yes. I did.
Othala.
Yeah.
Odin's rune.
Yeah. So that's the tables, and we see there's like a part
although after the May Queen, what is that? Inga's. It's an eye.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
It's a straight
and we
table.
see runes in a bunch of other places in this.
All
yeah,
over,
all over the place.
Well, the guide calls it out. He's like, "Oh my god, look at this big fucking ritual stone or whatever the shit." And he's like, "What is this, younger Futhark?" The guy's such a dick.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, it's Elder Futhark. Chill your titties, bro."
Yeah.
So, which also, he should have been able to tell. Again, in a myriad of situations where this guy's like so high on his own farts, he should have been able to tell that was fucking Elder Futhark.
Yeah,
I could tell it was Elder Futhark. That guy's like a college boy, and I'm some asshole.
I also could, and I'm not writing a thesis on this stuff.
Yeah,
so
and it's not even your fucking pantheon.
Not really.
You know, you're only pantheon adjacent.
Yeah,
glancing blood.
But I know the difference between the two. So
yeah, elder and younger are quite distinct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. What is this? Crow o'clock?
It's the Blue Jays. That's not the crows.
Cool your boobies.
The Blue Jays outside are absolutely going nuts right now and have been for like at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They are just
doing Jay stuff.
They're just having
I wonder if it's because the pigeon couple's here.
I don't know.
The other day when I had put out fresh seeds and the Jay was like, "What's up?" Like the main guy.
Oh,
he was like, "What's up?" And then the pigeons were just like, "Get fucked, little ass bitch," because the gray couple are huge.
The dove couple.
Yeah, they're huge compared to that Jay. I mean, Jay Swift is a motherfucker, but like he's like half their volume.
Yeah.
You know, because he's like a svelte motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know?
It could just be that it's like kind of like baby time.
Maybe, and it could be that there's like a predator around.
Yeah.
The owl or a hawk, because we get that California hawk, that one that like fucks with rats.
It's also I've also
forest.
noticed a lot of squirrels.
Every time he shows up, they freak the fuck out.
Yeah, well, there's also a lot of squirrels eating the bay nuts right now, and they're being like jerks about it.
Yeah,
like dropping.
Well, but
nuts,
they're not a threat,
like
and this is a threat warning sound.
Yeah,
this is a like get fucked, don't be here, sort of sound.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they wouldn't make this noise for a turkey vulture. They don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah,
because vultures don't eat them.
Yeah,
so it's either the hawk, or the owl, or the doves, the pigeons, the same fucking animal.
Yeah.
Being assholes because those guys are pricks.
Yeah.
There might be a new Jay.
Maybe.
Trying to be all like, "What's up? I heard this territory got mad food because these two human assholes are assholes."
Are feeding you.
Yeah, because these Jays, they'll dude, like just outside the window, like especially when we had the rail there. But like even recently, where was I? I was oh, dude, I was in the fucking bathroom the other day, and I hear something land on the roof, right? And it's like jumping around on the roof or whatever the fuck. And I like get done going to the bathroom, and I look out the skylight, and this motherfucker looks down the skylight at me and taps on the skylight, and then flies off. Like, yo, dog, get your shit together. Give us
Feed
food.
me.
Get the fuck out of here, you dick.
We know that they do that though.
Yeah, they're dicks. Yeah, they're dicks. Oh, they're like laying on the barbecue, right there, because you can see it from the window. They're like laying on the barbecue and just fucking
Yeah.
I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Try and get the dogs all upset. The dogs just ignore them at this point.
Yeah.
But trying to get somebody's attention to like get fucking free food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever.
I mean, it works. So
it does work. We do support the local bird population. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's it for the like very
Ritual
specifically
side.
like ritual magical stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know, whatever. Best part of the movie?
I really love the paintings in the inside of the room that they sleep in. I really like looking at the paintings and also their like outfits. Man, this movie makes me want to like do folk painting and like embroider really badly. Yeah. So like the best part of the movie for me is the aesthetic.
Sure. Totally.
Yeah.
It's for sure the like May Queen trip.
Oh yeah, the like the psychedelics,
flowers breathing.
Yeah, the way that they do psychedelics.
When she's
so
like
grounded.
After she wins, so like when she first takes the tea, she can like see the grass in her shoes, and then it like starts going, and she's like kind of tripping or whatever. And then after they crown her May Queen, the whole time she's having dinner.
Everything's breathing.
The flowers are breathing. When she sits down in the chair and she like moves her arm across the like ivy or whatever, and it like responds to her motion, is so good, dude.
Yeah, it's really grounded in the way that it's portrayed.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, Sacrifice of the Nine, that whole final sequence is so good.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, man. It's such a great movie. It's infinitely rewatchable.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Super is.
And like if you've only seen it a few times, like rewatch it and like pay attention to the periphery.
Yeah. Notice
the stuff just outside of where they're trying to drive your focus, and you see like little shit, grass moving and trees swaying, and you know, pan shots where all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a bunch of trees or whatever, and then the shot pans and there's like a moment where it pans into a place where the trees are like shaped like a face or shit like that.
Yeah, or like
it's
people
so
doing things like in the background where you're like, oh, that's weird, like
it's
a little
wild.
unsettling. Yeah, there's so much detail in it.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a detail driven and oriented movie. Yeah, man. I mean, it's so good. Absolute 10 out of 10 movie.
Yeah.
You know, no suggestions.
Yeah, no notes.
Yeah, no notes. Maybe make a sequel, but don't suck. So don't make a sequel.
So don't make a sequel.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's good. Its name is Midsommar. It's the easiest win on our part.
It is the easiest.
But at
win,
the same time, like, it's such good, even though it's like a star all through Midsommar coded.
Yeah.
It's fantastic Midsommar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even though we're past Midsommar, depending on your like region and your climb, like the Season's Drift, maybe if you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate it for the magical side of things as opposed to just like the pure movie side of things. Like, watch it with that lens.
Yeah, for sure. Like, observe the ritual and the structure and like all. There's so many little details. Man. It's so good. Also, watch early Florence Pugh.
Yeah, before she was like huge famous.
Yeah, for sure. It's so good. Like, this movie only more greatly ratifies her position as a fantastic and great actress.
Yeah.
She's so fucking good in this fucking movie, dude.
Yeah.
She's so good in it.
Yeah.
Couldn't have cast better.
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Absolutely. And, like, the asshole, you'll recognize him. The boyfriend, you'll recognize him. Yeah. The boyfriend for the English couple, I recognize him.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, good cast, great story, beautiful, fucking beautiful movie.
Yeah.
You know? So highly recommend, 11 out of 10. Spinal Tap that shit. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? It's late, but time is hallucinatory, so
we've already gone over this. Time
happy
is
Midsommar.
A construct. Happy Litha.
Happy Litha. And yeah, enjoy your summer. Have a good time, and don't drink that tea. Don't trust those people. Or drink that tea and trust those people, but don't be a dick. Because honestly, they're mostly dicks who died. So
they may have all lived if they were, well, maybe not all.
Cool.
More of them may have lived.
If they were cool for like 5 seconds, but like nobody's cool.
Yeah, right?
Right? Yeah, either way, I've been John Norgrove. This has been Julie Norgrove. This has been the Horn
and Cauldron podcast.
And I will catch you guys next time for more mystical, magical mayhem.
Yeah. And before we sign off, thank you. Big thank you to our patrons. We appreciate you and appreciate all that you help us do. You help us do each episode a little better than the last one. And if you would like to join, you're welcome to do that. Yep. And if you cannot join, feed the algorithm for us.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest and freest way to help support our channel by liking, commenting, subscribing, reviewing, downloading, however it is that you're doing it, wherever it is that you're doing it
for nowadays.
We appreciate it. And on that note, breathe in self-confidence and breathe out self-doubt.